This one goes out to all the insecure writers out there who think that they're bad at writing. There are a lot of us. Hi, my name is Youre and I am a professional content creator and writer, and I create videos about how to grow your blogging empire. One of the requests I actually get the most frequently is people ask me for feedback on their writing. Like, they'll email me and they'll say, "Oh my god, Zuli, my writing is so bad. Like, how am I ever gonna get better? It sucks so bad. I really am the worst writer on the face of the planet." And frequently, it's better than they think they are. I made this list of signs that you are a good writer. Without further ado, here are the 9 signs that you are secretly a good writer, even if you worry that you're a bad one. Number 1, you think you're bad at writing. I experienced this firsthand when I was trying to write my novel. I was writing it and I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. This is nowhere near like the authors that I see that are published. Like, the quality is just terrible. Why am I so bad at writing? And then I saw this tweet that basically said, if you read your writing and you're like, this is bad, that's actually a sign that you're a good writer. Bad writers don't realize that what they're doing is bad writing. Good writers will look at their writing and you have this sense, you're like, I know that this can be better. I know this isn't as good as where I want it to be. And you interpret that as being bad at writing. If you're looking at your prose and you're like, oh god, this is so bad, you're probably better than you think. Sign 2 is, when you're reading a book and you're like, you're reading the words and you're enjoying the plot and you're enjoying how the story's going, but you're reading the specific words and you're like, the order of words, the flow, the imagery, how beautiful this phrase is going. If you're the kind of writer who can recognize good writing when you see it, that's another sign that you yourself are a really good writer. I mean, it's not a one-to-one correlation. Like, you can be good at recognizing good art, not be a great artist yourself, but it's definitely a sign that you're a good writer. If you're reading good writing and you're like, oh yeah, this fills my soul. This is like a warm cup of tea on a cold winter's day. I love the way that this is crafted together. If you can appreciate the beauty of the language of somebody else's writing, that's a sign that you have what it takes to create your own beautiful tea, like soul-warming writing. So keep that in mind. Number 3, a sign that you're a good writer is if you have itchy writing fingers. What do I mean by this weird phrase? I recently got a letter from a neighbor via Nextdoor, the app, and the letter read like marketing. It was like, "Hi, Zuli, my name is Caitlin. I'm a neighbor of yours. You should join this awesome app. Join soon before this offer disappears. Loads of other of your friends are on this app." It was like it was obvious that it didn't come from her. And I immediately got the itchy writing finger feeling. I was like, I want to write about this. I want to turn this experience into a piece of work, a piece of writing work. If you have that feeling, you're probably a good writer. If things happen to you and you immediately start thinking about, okay, like, this is how I'm going to turn it into a story. This is how I'm going to portray the different characters. This is going to be how I develop this raw concept into a blog post. It means you have what it takes to do enough practice to get good at writing, and that you have also like a love of writing. I don't know any good writers who don't love writing. I know a lot of bad writers who don't love writing, but I don't know a single good one who doesn't have the itchy writing finger sometimes. Okay, on to step 4. If you're a blog writer, but you still really like reading books, and when you read a book, even like a novel, even something like Twilight, you're reading it and you're like, I love the way that this author is conveying their ideas. I love the way that the story rises and falls. I love the way these characters are being developed. It's similar to points 1 and 2, where if you can admire good storytelling, you probably have what it takes to create good storytelling of your own. Nobody really thinks of bloggers as, or I certainly didn't think of bloggers as real writers, but writing is writing is writing. It doesn't matter if you're telling a story via an email that you send to a client. It doesn't matter if you're telling the story of how a vampire falls in love with a human. It doesn't matter if you're writing a blog post about Nextdoor's invasive marketing techniques. All of it is storytelling. Storytelling is fundamental to the human experience. If you can experience and enjoy good storytelling, you're probably a pretty good storyteller yourself. Number 5. Have you ever been watching a TV show or a movie or reading a book and you're like, oh my god, and you've never seen it before, and you're like, oh my god, I think I know what's gonna happen next. And sure enough, you turn the page, you go to the next episode and you've accurately predicted what happens in that story, book, movie, whatever. A lot of authors and a lot of like TV shows, TV writers, they create stories where when you look back, a casual viewer will be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But someone who's already pretty good at recognizing those patterns will be able to tell from the foreshadowing and just the way that the story is structured how something's going to end or what's gonna happen next. So if you find yourself realizing a lot of the time, you're like, wait a minute, I kind of predicted that, it's a sign that you might be pretty good at writing. Number 6. If you're obsessed with reading, like if you're the kind of person who loves to read, whether it's blog posts, whether it's books like novels like I do, if you're the kind of person who, used to read encyclopedias as a kid, like if you're obsessed with reading, it's a sign that you're probably a pretty good writer. Writing and reading, I think of them as the same sort of sphere. Most of the best writers I know are actually incredible readers as well. They consume a ton of content, and that's what helps them produce a lot of really great content. So the more you read, and I really think that this was one of the factors that allowed me to become a good writer fairly quickly, even though I hadn't written that much. It's because I'd read a lot and I knew already the factors of a good story. I knew how to develop characters, even in nonfiction blog posts. If you're obsessed with reading, you probably have what it takes to be a really great writer. Number 7, you are a journal hoarder. I'm looking at you watching this. You have journals on your shelf right now. Every time you go to like a stationery shop, you see another beautiful journal waiting to be filled with your ideas, and you have to get it. Every holiday period, your friends know what to get you, your family members know what to get you. You end up getting more journals than you know what to do with, but you can't bear to get rid of them because they're there. They're your journals, they're your babies. One day they will have your words. So I'm actually gonna show you, I don't know if you can see. What? If you see up there, that's just a very small stack of the journals I have loved over the years. Some of them are full, some of them are almost too pretty to write in. I'm like, oh no, I don't wanna ruin it. But I can't get rid of it, I have to keep these journals. This kind of goes along with number 3, like the itchy writing fingers feeling, because if you're a good writer, you always have this aspiration of wanting to be a good writer. Like, I don't know any good writers who don't idolize being good writers, if that makes sense. And one of the symptoms of that is obsessive journal hoarding. So if you look at your bookshelves right now and you're like, oh yeah, I do have 17 journals, and some of them are filled, but some of them aren't, that's a sign that you're probably a good writer. Number 8, you hoard words. Recalcitrant, serendipitous, assuage. Maybe you don't even know how to pronounce them because you've only ever seen them read and nobody really says those words aloud in casual conversation. If you're the kind of person who loves to collect words from newspapers, from conversations you have with your friends, from books you read, words that are a little out of the common way, a little bit off the beaten track, that have a similar meaning to a word, but they're not exactly the same. There's something a little bit different. That's a really powerful sign that you're a good writer. I'll say it like this. I'm a very bad painter. One day I will show you some of the bad paintings that I've done and you will see for yourself. I love it, but I'm bad at it. I have this image in my head of what I want to create, and somehow that message gets scrambled as it goes from my brain, through my arm, out the paintbrush, and onto paper. What I produce is very rarely what I intend to produce. If you're a good writer, you have tools. You have a whole toolbox full of words that you've heard, you've remembered, you've loved the sound of them, the way they mean something a little bit weird, something unusual, or they mean something totally normal, but in a different way to another common word that's used more frequently. That means that you just want to be growing your toolbox all the time, and you're always going to be prepared to say exactly what you mean you say and nothing different. Number 9, you take your time between drafts. I wanted to end with this one because I think it's probably the least thought of as a sign of good writing. In today's era of content creation, we admire the people who produce a lot of content quickly. I remember even when Taylor Swift, she waited a couple years between albums, and people are like, Taylor, you gotta get that next album out there, otherwise people are gonna forget about you. There's this idea that if you don't constantly create, your audience will move on without you. There are good writers who publish content every single day or every single year, but there are also writers who don't have to. And I find that those are the really good ones, the ones who are able to sit on an idea, are able to let it percolate and through their brain marinate with all the right idea and subtext you get good at writing by producing a lot of content. But if you're a really good writer, you're not afraid to pull back a little bit, wait in between getting an idea and deciding to turn it into a piece of content, whether novel, encyclopedia, tweet, whatever. And that's what I want to leave you with. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm hoping that it assuaged some of your concerns, maybe some of your worries. Chances are, if you're watching this, you are a good writer, or at the very least, you definitely have what it takes to become a good writer. Because if you're worrying about it, that's the first step, right? If you're at that point where you look at your work and you're like, I know this could be better, that's a sign that you are already better than you think you are. Cut yourself some slack, give yourself a break, learn what you love about your craft, and be a little bit more confident in your own writing abilities, because you're probably further along than you think you are. If you have any questions, feel free to post a comment in the box below. I always answer all my questions and comments in my YouTube videos. If you like this kind of stuff, feel free to give it a like. If you want to see more in the future, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to be alerted when I release new videos. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye. That means that you have what it takes to do enough practice. I'm sure that you could, well, I'm not even gonna put that in. Where was I going with this? I'm really thirsty, it's making it hard to think. Hopefully that loud construction work isn't coming through. If you have any questions, feel free to I am hoping that this is going to assuage. I'm gonna have to Google how to look that up. To pronounce. This is what happens when you read too much and don't talk enough. Assuage.
Assuage.
Assuage. Okay, got it. Actually, I got it.